lobbies, they could feel free to not put their official names for, of course, whatever reasons that is so far. So long as, they remain competitive, that's what we really want to see. Hora Esports treading very closely to the members of Nongshim Red Force, met with retaliation coming from Binny. He's got an M249 to really spray down till tomorrow, but kind of don't want to waste those resources. Sleepy hits back at them very cleanly. Couldn't find a second connection with erratic sprays coming out of his Scar L. But he's definitely looking for more. Oh, a little tack on both sides of the head, and they're thankful to stay alive for a moment. But take a look closely onto the rest of the members of Hora's position. They're kind of inching closer and closer, so this kind of allows No Fear to kind of find a flank angle.
Yeah, and No Fear and Cole now looking for Beanie, who managed to make his way, and the fact that he popped that smoke, they know that he's behind there. And Chico does the same, but Beanie, he evaded that one nade. He's slowly moving forward with the SLK. Oh, but they know that he's behind the door. They heard the audio cue.
Yeah, this is just getting rougher and rougher for Binny. And the rest of Nongshim Red Force isn't exactly in the best position to challenge as well. But here comes the rest of BTR. Binny actually gets the trade done. Beautifully so. And now the fight is not over yet. BTR arrives from the back to put a little bit of some mounting pressure. Damage being done. It's going to be YG taking one member out of VPE, while Sky strikes two members out of Nongshim Red Force.
Somebody forgot to tell them that this warehouse is not in the circle, but everybody wants a piece of this warehouse. From afar, it's going to be No Fear finishing off Beanie. Now Nongshim Red Force only has that one player left. Hora Esports with two, but look at the amount of teams around this area. Boom Esports making a showing itself, finishing off Snape.
Oh, this is just so rough. I mean, I guess it all comes down to this, where a lot of the teams, they drop over the northern section, and once the zone closes through, you see a bunch of them rotating rather at the same time, and it just caused this cluster to appear, and now they're just battling for a little bit more of that open space, whatever that they can find cover for the moment. While FaZe Clan have stayed pretty much silent over the course of Chimachera. They're going to be happy enough with this position, but Voing Donkey is already fighting for a little bit of space over on the top end of the hill. As much as there's not much of an angle that FaZe Clan could actually get, they're hoping that they won't get flushed through, so Gui really needs to pull up a stronghold by his own, because the rest of Voing Donkey is looking for that infiltration into the city.
Speaking about a pool, the circle pulled down to the lower ground, and a lot of teams are already there, including FaZe Clan and now Voing Donkey. Dewey shows up, gets one, but gets counter-fired immediately, goes back down to the ground thanks to Potato, Red Bull. Nothing much he can do from the other building.
Yeah, not much. Well, he could definitely look for a couple of lobs if he could, but he's also getting spotted out very quickly. So, Canary holding his own while the rest of Alpha 7 will face that marches right through it. Just like that, Canary gets a couple of packs, but only good for one knock. Red Bull tries to come in with a recovery, but he's now left out all alone.
Okay. Goes up to the second floor. Needs to heal up, but the nade's been set across. Red Bull moves forward. He knows that somebody is just outside of this window. The player from Alpha 7, Red Bull evaded the nade. But now he tosses the nade down to the ground floor, hoping to land onto something. Cooking up the next nade. He wants to try to get Squash Bull. Tries to angle it across, but Squash Bull went in. Alpha 7 moved in at the right timing. And they will take out the final player of FaZe Clan.
It's crazy how Alpha 7 knows exactly how to scale up some of all these cheeky positionings to really flush out Red Bull, not really allowing him any space to fight off. Now, the one problem settled by Alpha 7. The other one is from Voing Donkey. As they're currently box right in, looking for that reset. Voing Donkey can actually take charge to kind of flush them if they want to. But guess what? Blue Zone already taking right in for Hora Esports as well as Nongshim, down to 1 versus 1. And it is looking dire with the situation. Both sides low on resources. They gotta settle the scores.
And DZ, he does have 4 firsts, but he doesn't have time to use it. He must win this clutch before he's able to really heal up himself. Look at this, he attempts, but Lucky for him, No Fear needs to do the same as well. So both of them reset back to 80% of health. But stage 3 circle. Okay, TZ with the nade. No Fear doing the same as well. They're just mirroring each other now. As TZ moves in, evades that first nade. As K on the hands of No Fear. TZ cooks up his second nade. But now switches back to K, and he will be the one to win that 1v1 against No Fear.
Wow, great understanding of your opponents overall. The mirror action coming from both ends was just nail-biting and eventually matches some of the scores, but they're so far away from the zone. Not too sure if they could still actually gain too much traction in this matchup itself. Going Donkey now on the 2-2 split, still holding over on the up high ground of Chumacera, while Outer from the corner, Vpe has been able to put on the whole. Fabian will be able to deliver, knocking down Qatar.
And now Fabian needs to move a little bit forward, but he should be able to finish off Krypton. But we shift forward now to Alpha 7 versus Void Donkey within the circle, as circle shifts more towards the city of Chumacera. But since it's going to be an urban warfare, we might see a stalemate here. But expect more fights on the southern side where the high grounds are at, as all of those teams down there will need to come into the circle.
I'm loving how the zone says like, hey, let's clear up the north, and now let's clear out the south, and what's left is going to be the citizens of Chumacera, as much as they're unhappy being noisy neighbors for the moment. South side, we last saw D plus Kia really holding their own up against Alter Ego. Only 2 points for now. Definitely vying for a whole lot more. Alpha 7 is having a pop-off performance thus far in Miramar, while Yangon Galacticos have been able to spot one more out of Alter Ego, while they are trying to also traverse across the spine of this hill to reach right into the zone. But as they do so, even more retaliation coming from the rest of Boom Esports, spotting them out, and the further they go, they will collide with Alpha 7 at the very same time. A1 Esports pulling inside the shack, down to Sinister only, but he cannot fend the rest of the field because they're in that tough jostle between 4 teams.
Oh, and Boom Esports dominating, but now Alpha 7, we have Sinister here on screen, dancing around with Boom Esports. And it's going to be Pubg showing up with the DBS against Sinister. A1 Esports out.
Respectable finish at the very least with 4 points for A1 Esports, despite not securing those placement points. While the fight continues, Void Donkey so far holding firm. They don't really have to do all too much, but they're eager to at least look for a couple of drop points. 2 is barely enough, and he might be able to spot something in return from the hillside where a lot of noise has been shallow curve from that area. St. Cloud now so damage coming from all directions as D plus Kiera arrive to the scene, make it look very smooth for Noble to secure another one in the bag, and now that's 4.
But the next challenger for D plus Kiera is going to be Boom Esports by the side, and they know that Boom Esports is there, so Osa is going to be the one in front. Okay, moves forward. I wonder if we can see Octa, but he surely knows the presence of Pubg. And Pubg, with the vehicle, goes back to his teammates, pulls the trigger, able to land the shots, but not able to get a knock.
Just a couple of all these tags right across. D plus Kia playing it very, very patiently, as Chips has been able to also spot one member out of Team Secret by the far edge. As much as they have shown their presence, I mean, there's still a lot of all these creases that they could actually play from. Zeta now joining into the factory areas where they're kind of locked into the space between Void Donkey as well as Alpha 7. A stalemate between the two, as Iso is going to be looking to least with a little bit of disruption, some damage falling off. And it is just going to be pretty much the same story from both sides that have not been able to really call for a big breakout fight, as they're holding the best position possible. Now, Team Secret also gets a leverage onto the zone, and Lazarus, the only member from Vampire Esports to take the dead center.
Ooh, the final player, Lazarus, who's Schweppes, using a pseudo name. Oh, he stay as quiet as possible there within the city, hoping not to be spotted by anyone. But 7-9, from afar, we see them taking a bit of damage. Oh, it's them actually knocking down Ken for BTR. Not eliminated yet. It could be a long-range knock, so no follow-up. So Ken could be revived in a little bit more.
We'll have to see whether if there's going to be any form of re-aggression coming in from the side of 7-9. BTR isn't exactly in the best possible location, but there is still the zone that they have. If it does shift towards the low grounds of the city, then both 7-9 as well as BTR, they're going to be pretty happy about their spot. Well, we'll have to wait for 2 minutes before we actually get that confirmation. So this stalemate is going to take a while for them to break. We'll have to see. Mika, so far, have been looking rather sharp today. Despite all of that, 7-9 still walks away with 0 point. I believe a lot of these knocks was actually claimed by other squads instead.
Yeah, which is off screen right now. But look at this, an arrow drop behind Boy Donkey. Okay, so that's a blessing for them. Kyorin gets U-High with tap of the Mini 14. But for him to finish up U-High, it's going to be pretty difficult. But because 7-9, okay, somebody's with U-High. I was about to say that, okay, maybe U-High doesn't have his teammates, 7-9 is well spread, but somebody's with U-High and now he's back up again. The biggest challenge for BTR is to cross this road because 7-9 is scoping down on them, but Apex, aka Satar, is playing today, and he managed to make it across.
Glad to actually see him back in action once again. Love that he is IGN is actually Vitality versus the rest of the field, which kind of gives you a little bit of a notion that, one day he might be able to also get another chance in the EWC. We'll have to get more of a glimpse as to what happens then in the international stage. Whereas Voin Donkey, I believe they managed to get a little bit of that restock, like you mentioned, with the care package dropping really closely. 7-9 willing to budge off from their position, but they allow the few members of BTR to cut right across. But BTR having one member stranded over on the far section. It's going to be pretty tough. U-High looks to deplete the vehicle. And Miramar on an urban setting, Chumacera is definitely one of the hardest cities for you to really get a firm hold on to anyone because of the high ground, low ground situation.
Well, and it's still going to be a high ground, low ground situation. Dead center circle. These teams that have already locked in their own apartment inside Chumacera will continue to get the circle, but those teams on the south will still need to move forward. BTR, 2 players managed to break through onto the other side of the road. While Team Secret, okay, one of those teams that don't really have this circle, maybe some of them, but at least one player is on the outside. And now they'll be facing off against the Juggernauts, D plus Kia, who wants to force their way in.
D plus they've been wandering around the outskirts for a long time, and Team Secret is the one that keeps guard. Team Secret, the closest one that have been over onto the southeast, have been able to find that perfect opportunity to strike. Now that D plus Kia have caught wind of the situation, they try to move the other direction, but he, as much as he's been able to spot those movements, he's not quick on the trigger. But Cheeky is, and Cheeky's rather close. He will be able to look up behind him, but D plus Kia is actually full sending into the city.
Here comes the crash in here by D plus Kia, but Void Donkey will be the one to stop them, and D plus Kia eliminated like that. But that could be an opening for Boom Esports right now, as they also want to force their way onto Void Donkey. Alpha 7 is just monitoring the situation. If they're able to get an angle, if anyone oversteps into the crosshairs of Alpha 7, surely they will take the shot.
It's all about timing right now. Boom Esports wrapping around the edges, and they're about to really set something huge, perhaps up against Alpha 7. And if Void Donkey also gets a little bit out of line, Boom Esports can actually convert some really nasty shots. But at this moment, Boom Esports happy enough with their location. Razak's the one that retrieves the package. He's got a lethal P90 in hand if the going gets rough. I mean, Razak He has been the main hitman for Boy Donkey for the entire tournament for VD. Want to see him really rock things up against the members of Alpha 7. Now, Rebel has been able to spot Pubg Esports on the far corner, but unable to really take further dry peeks over on the open ground. So, rather risky move, A7 Esports. Where exactly do they go from here on? I mean, so long as this zone does not shift, we're not going to be seeing full commitments from either parties just yet. But boom, they're not waiting any longer. They want something in return.
Yeah, they want to try to get on the inner side, right? Because if the circle does shift, then there's a big chance that they will not be in it next. So they want to manage that early. But this is the thing about urban warfare. If you secure your apartment in the circle, you will hold it. If you don't, then you have to push a building. So that's not the easiest of tasks. And that's what Pubg Esports will need to overcome now. We'll see the next circle shift in about 5 more seconds and who will be favored by the circle. Majority teams on the left side. As the circle will go still in the middle. Alpha 7, no circle. They will be the ones that need to move.
Oh boy, Boing Donkey has got a lot of work to do. I mean, they gotta fend off both of these squads, and they're already on the run. I mean, they gotta just shift into Potato's location at this moment. Boom. They gotta time this one correctly, or else it could be a very easy work with both Alpha 7 and Boing Donkey to be able to clean them off. And Yummy's already got a nade pretty much at the ready. Pond is going to be the one taking charge. They already set all these smokes to the blindside. Both Boy Donkey as well as A7. But they're snapping right into the Molotov, into the trap of Alpha 7 and shredded them out like a hot knife through butter.
Sounds yummy. Yummy got eliminated. But anyway. It's dinner time, so, you know, food is always lingering in our minds. Just like how these teams with the chicken dinner lingering around them. Now that we have only 6 teams left with Vampire Esports eliminated, Boy Donkey sees a rotation. And so many teams on the left side. Now we will also include BTR.
Yeah, it's very interesting as to how many teams are actually looking for that edge wraparound. BTR, I don't think this is a bright idea for them to do so. I mean, they don't really have that intel that these two teams are kind of in that gridlock and can now kind of calls to fall back. Razak allowing him to do so as they both have respect for each other's territory. Whereas BTR now thinks that, okay, we came from the south side, we know that 7-9's around, we can kind of play off with that info, so long as we don't get into the crosshairs. Speaking of which, Razak finding one in return, finally getting knocked onto Ken. Should be able to pick up that member of fallen BTR, but oh, they just went through the door. That allows them to eventually get clipped up. Same goes to Fearon at the same time. Potato goes in for the exchange.
Now, Yohai is the only active player for 7-9. Razak pushes forward, receives damage from Alpha 7. And Alpha 7, they're currently on the rampage with the fact that they took out Gachor. 10 eliminations at least for Alpha 7, playing with 3 players. But Alpha 7, they'll face their next challenge of not having the circle.
Looking so ferocious right now, and you can see how they've been calm and composed. I mean, the way that they've been able to eliminate those members of FaZe Clan and a few other noble names just tells you that these guys are absolutely aim demons overall. Curing now tries to check inside of the smoke, as they do know for a fact that they're sharing that space with the rest of 7-9. It's just that they couldn't really get the vision through, so it's just going to be about the matter of flying shots. Yuhai also tries to give some signal warning, but it's going to be Kyoran that gets sniffed out in the smoke instead.
Oof, he didn't get a good view, but Yuhai, he kind of knows the direction. It's like, okay, there's only that one door, so you just need to aim at the door at the right timing, and you will get your target. That's exactly what he did. But now Team Secret playing with a bunch of pseudo names here. Mr. FKY, I assume that he's Frankie. I can't be sure. But yeah, FKY, so far they are dominating with 6 eliminations right now. And they will secure another one in 7 eliminations. Top 3 teams. Team Secret, the only team with full squad. Oh
no!
Okay.
Jiggy! Oh, that was a little too high, and now Team Secret has got to get that revive done. The only reprieve is that Team Secret, they got the majority of space. Look how the tides have turned. I mean, last we saw Team Secret barely had enough space on the southeast, and now they're the ones in control with the most members up against Nongshim and 7-9. The patience pays off for the Malaysians. 7-9 still at the very far corner, so they kind of need to make a deep run in. FKY is going to be able to hold them down, though, so I assume that to be Frankie. He's doing an absolute mega job right at this moment to suppress 7-9.
Yeah, we'll take that as Frankie. We'll make it easier for our brains. But 7-9 only Mika left now. Creates that smoke bridge, forcing himself to move forward. Now he's out in the open. Frankie's the one closest. And he still managed to tag one player of Team Secret before GK follow up. And Team Secret will need to pick up their teammate, but it's not going to be a problem because Endless Red Force only has one player left. Simple spray from the top of the hill, and Team Secret locks in second in and number 2.
Build for work coming from Team Secret. They have been able to stop not just one team out there, make that 2, as both D plus Kid as well as Nongshim Red Force have fallen into their hands. And this matchup was so tactically played off. Team Secret respectively on both 4th as well as 5th is also pretty close to each other, so that definitely is a very interesting storyline that we can talk about later on. While certain teams were not involved, so naturally they do slide downwards. That includes the Vikings that was taking a little bit of that break in essence, so we definitely want to see what are those big moves coming from the other page as Vampire Esports and Void Donkey solidifies themselves even further in the top 18.
Okay, so this is page number 2 where we start to see like, okay, have they done enough or will they have collected enough points to be in the top 18? So APG 63. And then you have Boom Esports 78, RRQ 77. So the points are still close for them to push down. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, for number 19 onwards, the points are still very close. A Talent, A1, they drop a little bit, but they will be back later on to try to bring in enough points to be in top 18.
So many interesting narratives in that sense. As we last saw, 4 points in for the side of A1 kind of gives them a little bit more of that maintenance to be able to steadily climb over onto the chart. So still keeping a lot of hope coming in for this team. Well, of course, that's it. We give them a little bit of a break time, and when they do come back, we'll offer you guys even more chicken dinners to go. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back once again. You are currently watching the Ruthless Invitational Showdown with the 11th iteration here of the season. Sir Cloud, we've already had 2 games completed. Still 4 more to go for the night, so definitely it's exciting times to see some of the best teams here across the world.
Yeah, and because the points are tight, right, and the race for the top 18 is on, we'll need to revisit the points again just for us to have a good glance of who are the teams that could potentially make it because the games are running by. And here it is again. Page 1 teams, that's fine. Don't need to worry about them. They are very, very safe right now. Very sure we will see these teams in the finals.
That's right. And that being said, it's more about the teams that are on that third page because a lot of teams are just neck and neck right at this moment. When we completed Miramar, we see major movements coming from Alpha 7 as well as Team Secret, while non-human Force and 4 Times are the ones to be tied at second position with 136 points.
Yeah, and APG is at 81 points. Okay, so that's numbers. A1, they are only like 3 points behind RRQ. So it's still very, very possible until BTR to come up with a surprise to be in the top 18.
Yeah, I definitely agree to that testament where I'm looking forward if there's going to be any form of surge coming from Kinotrope. The last we saw out of the action back in as we once again set the stage for our upcoming match, moving into the Wrangle.
And Erangel it is. The second time we see an Erangel here today. This time the flight path is going to be very different. Earlier today we see a flight path from left to right, but I'm looking at the flight path to come from the north side, perhaps down. Okay, yeah, north besides starboard to the left of Jogopool. Okay, so it's almost the same, it's just a different direction.
Yeah, and it seems like today all the flights have been skewed. In essence, a lot of the flight path starts over north, including what we saw back in Miramar, which is where if it does journey into the south, we will once again see a giant scramble out of the likes of these teams. But for what it's worth, I think the teams that have played in Game 1, they'll be decently happy about the same sort of scenario. They know which areas to avoid going up against their own group, but against Group Yellow, it is a little bit of a curveball, right? So I want to see what does this actually change if it is anything at all.
Yeah, because it's a different group, but in Erangel, so one of the major changes is definitely going to be the drop spot and the potential early fight between any of the teams. But what else is changing is of course going to be the circle. It's a 50-50 between the north and the south.
Oh, I'm liking where this is going. Team Secret, the spot that they're taking over North George, can be a really strong focal point where they don't really have to move too far off once they are done looting north side of George. So, very interesting stance, if you ask me, on what these teams could possibly take. And this being a little bit more forgiving with the flight path, skewed in that sort of way.
Yeah, so it's going to bring a different dynamic, right, for them. And also a few other teams as well, especially those teams that like to drop around the area of Jogopool. They will have a lot of resources there, and with the circle on top of them, they can surely take their time. But teams on the right side, Yasnaya-ish onwards, then they will need to move into the circle. But because they need to move, they can kind of pick their choice, right? Like whether they want to go north or south. Normally, we'll see lesser teams in the North Island, the shooting range area coming in. So if the teams were to anticipate that, okay, it's going to be an easier entry, we might expect more teams from the right side of the map to go up north in.
True enough. And maybe that's also pretty much in the works for majority of the teams. It's like, okay, well, this is the way that we should be moving. And we just start to see a big bunch of all these players kind of moving in that similar direction in that sense. So I guess it is definitely going to be a big challenge still for the majority of these fellows out there. So we'll definitely keep our eyes peeled out. As for FaZe Clan, they are all the way in middle of power, so considerably one of the furthest location for them to eventually wrap their way back into that northwestern corner of the map.
Yeah, they're playing by their regular drop spot all the way there. Well, I guess again that would allow them that space because you would have like teams moving in first. And from our trend that we have seen in the previous rounds, like teams would want to go to the middle of the circle. Not many teams want to play the gatekeeping role. And if that trend continues on, then FaZe Clan would have an easy access into maybe stage 1 or even stage 2 of the circle. So that's a chance that's a possibility that might happen. Okay, now we get an overall view. And we can still see that somewhere in the middle, where Jogopool is at, it's still rather populated by Team Secret, Blue Squad, and also E-Arena. 3 teams at least now.
Yeah, whereas the rest of the field, they're definitely taking their sweet time. 4 tries will have a very firm access, and it seems to be that Team Secret moved right into the open areas where we thought that there's nobody manning this household, but apparently there's Glue Squad. So Xbox, he will secure the first blood for Glue Squad.
just as when I thought that, okay, this is probably going to be one of those rounds that would take a while before we see first split, but looks like it happened in stage 1 still. And it so happened when Team Secret was traveling outside. And Glue Squad, they normally play around the container area. So it is them moving up first before Team Secret moved out. So Frankie, too bad. It was just unlucky timing for him. Spotted out by Glue Squad and became the first player to be eliminated.
Yeah, he had a major impact back in those Miramar round, and it's just rather unlucky on the timings overall. Blue Squad so far looking very, very proactive today. And rightfully so, because if you're going to be starting off in such a prime location, you want to do everything in your power to really secure the spot. And they're in that perfect chokehold where you expect a lot of these players to be moving around the bridges. So liking what Blue Squad is trying to achieve in the long run.
Yeah. So even if the circle shifts up north, they're prepared for it, right? But even if it goes back down, then, you know, they're playing by the river. They can quickly access the other side. So, yeah, they're thinking the long run. So that's great what they're doing right now. And that's why they're one of the teams on page 1. They know all these micro strategies. They have it planned out early. And they think like few steps ahead. So because of that, page 1 now, they are in fact the best performing Indonesian region team, if you think about it.
Yeah, speaking of which, you know, to me, it's really surprising because back in the, playoff stages when it comes down to PMSL, they were struggling. Where was this form that Glue Squad was needing in those stages? And I think, like, you know, you give them more time, you give them more experiences, and these guys really do show up. Well, did they manage to qualify to EWC last match? Not really, was it?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess during PMSL, what stood out more than their performance is their jerseys.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the Power Ranger theme jerseys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did kind of ask around, like, are they actually selling it? Because they did have a booth at the PMSL, and apparently they're not selling the players' jersey. They're selling other stuff, but not that one.
Huh. But do they look half as cool at the very least?
Well, yeah, it's still like neon green with the cool logo. You know, it's still cool. It's still cool. But because the players wore these, I'm sure everyone wants to get their hands on it, including myself.
Yeah, and I've been definitely fancying any form of chance that I could have actually gotten one. And, you know, if you were around, I wish you would just tell me, hey, this jersey's up for grabs. Like, do you want one, Contra? I mean, like, sign me up, man. Overall, Blue Squad, super entertaining, a very fun bunch. And just like that playstyle, they're always unpredictable.
Yeah, just like maybe the circle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait! Wait, what? Contra, tell me in your many, many years, how often do you see this circle?
Okay, this is not less than 5%, but this is still very rare. And especially this split, where you might just see a lot of these players storm up the north, which is what they're doing right now. And mind you, other than that North George and some hillside, there's a flat ground terrain in between Zarki. I don't even know if teams want to go all the way to the edge of Zarki. This is just stage 2. Stage 2. And you're getting this.
And that means we will get a lot of eliminations on the feed right now. E-Arena against 4 Thrice. And we have a BTR against NS Red Force elsewhere. And here comes Joker. The moment he jumped into the building, he was ready for it with the DBS. Gets a knock onto Noki immediately. Momo shows up. And 4 Thrice eliminated. Just like that.
Oh, man. Well, I guess I'm lucky enough to kind of exchange my vote for another squad. of course, it's just rough. This kind of circle, anybody could be taken out that early. Four tries, they've shown up a lot back in the first matchup, but just like this, you can see everyone scrambling. Even Talon does not get to breathe in this arena. A1 Esports strikes them down.
Ooh, and S11 as well. So two teams actually shot at Talon. But we're going to see the next fight here involving A1 and also S11 on the other side. Jaxi is currently down and Rowdy will take the high ground. Try to get an angle against S11, but S11, they're going to bail this one. They're going to leave the IGL behind to be eliminated by A1's tryout.
Oh boy. A1 tryout. Who exactly could this be? So far, if you look at those elimination numbers, I mean, he's looking really good throughout the tournament thus far. While Team Secret so far has been able to at least hold to that position. They already lost 2. So it is rather tough as we last saw all these members of Glue Squad kind of giving them a little bit of a hustle of their own. But at this moment, I guess what Team Secret needs to do is just to ensure that they don't get flushed out of position. And look at the opposite corner. Claw Slayers is the one that books it very early on. So this kind of guarantees them at least a decent finish if they can hold on.
Unless if the circle is feeling moody and just wants to move all the way out of the city, that's going to be a different conversation. But they're not going to stay quiet. They know that DZ is here all alone. They were rushing into the same building. DZ with shotgun, he gets one knock. Second one comes in with DVS. DZ stood no chance as Longshin Red Force will lose that player. And circle looks like it's going to go majoritarily towards the north.
Wow, you take a look at that. RQ, they decided on Zarki, and yet they're not getting any form of reprieve. They're gonna be forced to play those open fields. Feels really bad for them, while A1 Esports, I think, is a big winner. They are holding the spot on the hill, but the only notion is that they need to defend this hill at the cost of their lives. So it's more about a question of whether if they have enough resources to pull off all these reprieve. Alpha up against BTR as Ease brings out an early MG3 to try to strike them all apart. Not really hitting the mark just yet. BTR finds a little bit of cover. It's going to be a little bit of back and forth. And APG is also spotted by Squad.
Ooh, long range by Ease trying to hit that headshot across to get the knock. But not able yet. But still they are blocking out BTR from coming in. Refuse having an eye on the BTR. Smoke created. They might jump into the vehicle anytime soon to try to make a move for it. Crossing by Alpha Gaming, who's now the heart stopper for BTR.
Well, hope that they could find a little bit of pulse right now. That Pang not so lucky. Good strike by GK. Team Secret, despite only having 2 players, whatever opportunities that they saw, they will take it. Speaking of which, it's actually Claw Slayers also pushing into this location, or should I rather say, it's Team Secret that actually pushes forward and get themselves into the mix. Boboho now takes another member of Team Secret out, so it's only going to be GK left all alone.
And GK, final player of Team Secret, but on the other side, Alpha Gaming, they were the ones to try to block BTR, but BTR fires back, including Glue Squad getting east. And now only Zol and Refuse, the active players for the team. Here comes the rest of BTR. Zol fires with an SLK, but he won't be able to take down any player of BTR as Curran will finish him off instead.
It's just a really a tight space for him to actually play out. Ken gets a little bit of a first dips over on the top end of the hill, knocking one player out, and just like that, hunts out for the rest of APG as Ref is hoping to actually go for the pickup. Not quite enough. APG, by doing so, they got in the line of sight, and just like that, gets eliminated.
Oh, I thought they were in a really good position to be able to hold that one, but it's just too bad for them. Anyway, life has to move on. Now we have Claw on screen. Wants to find GK, who's the final player of Team Secret, in the same building now. But it's not easy to navigate like up because GK is moving himself. And GK is ready now. Okay, they see GK with the SLK. circle-wise, they are in the circle. Looks like it's going to be a not jokeable finish, but on screen is going to be Goose Squad against E Arena as they drive by.
It is going to be absolutely rowdy. So many teams on the outskirts in to book a space inside of the city. Joko right now just going so right behind them like Lara. And Goose Squad is just going to try to see whether they can find something to return. The well secures it. Very clean stuff. Now he gets to recover with these limping units of Irina. Not much that they can do but to crawl around him for the moment. All it takes is some really good tags. And Goose Squad locked in his position. BTR holding them hostage. And I believe the well wants to get that safe done quickly. Now they will secure some of these points before getting stolen away. And
John! Oh, that was a beautiful one. Okay, anyway, Ken became the tank to receive the damage from Noel, but Curin follow up immediately, and that's how they want to fight against Group Squad. Now, Claws players, they're not done yet with GK. How long has been GK holding up for himself? Looks like not too long more as he will be taken out finally after lasting that long.
I gotta say that was a pretty good attempt at the very least. But still more to be done for the rest of Claw Slayers because plenty of all these teams will be eyeing on these spots. A1 with a very tactical position. One member knocked out, and that's Deathstorm on the outskirts. Oh, this is going to be rough. I'm not sure if he will be safe. Sinister will have to play alone just like GK if that's going to be the case because Balbay holding over on the north end. D-Saver can actually farm some big numbers by holding over onto the north point of North George. Claw Slayers in the heart of the city, directly in the center. Kinotrope's going to be sharing some space with these gentlemen instead. RQ also in the mix, moving from that far end of Zarki to be able to safely journey their way into North George.
Now, in North George, everyone's holding their own apartment. Looks like we're going to see another urban warfare, just like how we saw in Jumasera, where teams would just hold until somebody comes by or until, most importantly, the zone forces them to move. So that means it's going to be a standoff here. There is a player by the bridge, though. Not sure if he's on top of the bridge or if he's below the bridge. But anyway, he should be able to enter North George okay because everyone else is paying attention to all the buildings around.
Fair enough at this current point in time. Whoever's taking a little bit of a rental into the space is happy enough to stay for, a couple of weeks, months if they need to until the zone actually shrinks deeper into this vicinity. And for most part, take a look at the Spinal Hill, which is still somewhat playable. I believe there is going to be a little bit of a haggle over on the far north, and take a look at that FaZe Clan. It's going to be the only outlier. It'll be funny if that zone actually pulls deeper to FaZe Clan, and then, well, no one then. I'll just scratch that because they will be left out to dry, needing to now force a rotation. I believe that could be a bug on Red Bull because he's straying further and further on the outskirts. Maybe looking to claim something in return. RRQ finding themselves a decent spot right now with the update, while Tourniquet is the one by the bridge. So very interesting choices coming out of those players.
I was kind of hoping that the circle pulled to FaZe Clan as well. Then it will be interesting. Yeah, but okay, it looks like we're going to get a okay circle for most of these teams that are inside North Jogo Pool. Though it's like 50% water, but, because it's Jogo Pool, right? And, you got those apartments around. The water wouldn't be a big factor. But FaZe Clan, because they don't have the vision that we have, they will need to kind of guess like which compound or which apartment is vacant that they can still go in.
Yeah, this is where, they're kind of like missionaries with the choice of knocking on each neighborhood's door. And on the opposite case that this time around, by knocking onto the empty door, they get rewarded instead. So, very, very difficult options out there. E-Arena Last we saw was 30K by the bridge, quickly gets sniffed out. So they will be out at knife. Unfortunate as they could not find a spot to score those placement points.
And FaZe Clan is still not in the circle though. And time is moving, but Pubg ready for Kieran. And Kieran's now down, but he should be able to be picked up. I mean, they have that ledge to play with. So they should be able to recover him. Not going to be a problem. I guess the bigger problem right now is going to be FaZe Clan. Like, where are they going to enter?
Speaking of which, they're already getting shot by the Savior. The Savior so far with a clear advantage to also peek both ends. Balby on the south, another few members over onto the north. So these form of strategy absolutely helpful when you need them most. While this is where it gets a little bit more tense, right? Because at this point in time, a lot of all these players were just sheltered so well that even if you do get a knock between the urban setting, there's some easy pickups that these teams will do, so long as the zone does not really force any form of movement, so to speak. So I'm not too certain as to how exactly FaZe Clan could still even find, that wiggle room, because Canary's still on the outskirts.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, okay, they at least they managed to slide into the circle, but very likely they won't get the next phase. So it's going to be real challenging for them. But let's see how far will the circle be from FaZe Clan. Now it will shift. Oh, still goes all the way down south. Still at BTR. That is insane.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't know if you can call it luck or so, but BTR with a huge gamble onto taking that spot. And mind you, those spots directly in the center, if they want to find a cover inside the compounds, it's absolutely emptied out. They can actually take claim if they want to. So long as they have that bridge.
Yeah, it's as if they bought the circle, right? Like, you would kind of think that, okay, maybe they're at the edge of the circle next and all that, but no, okay, they're not in the middle of the circle, right smack there. I doubt teams would really want to go there and hunt them, so they will have all the time in the world right now, as long as they have this circle. Nobody's going to leave the comfort of their apartment.
That's true, and now FaZe Clan hoping to at least secure a little bit more of that space as they're in a little bit of tug of war up against the rest of the field. It's going to be VTR finding the mark onto RQ. As that's going to be a perfect hit shot connecting, but yet again, it's a big scramble inside the city. There's still certain opportunities that they can actually look for. Sticky grenade now tossed randomly towards the direction of D+. Yeah, well, actually, Kinotrope, since D+ is taking a break. It's going to be BTR Vitality already scoring 10 points and still looking for more.
Oh, 10 already. And they have the circle. They're on a roll this round. And let's remember that BTR, one of those teams that really, really needs the points to be in the top 18. But same goes for Kinotrope and Claw. They're still in the game right now. But if BTR can score this chicken dinner with the amount of eliminations that they have collected so far, that will easily boost them up significantly in a comfortable zone.
Yeah, and right at this moment, as much as we talk about a comfortable spot, BTR, they're happy enough with those points that they farm out. And if they could back even more, I think we are going to be seeing them in the grand finals if that's going to be the case. So right at this moment, Toss Layers, well, the early occupants of this North George is holding firm. And they're trying to see a way if they could actually get a couple of catch over onto these members of Kinotrope. While the rest of these other players coming in from D-Savior, happy enough to take the dead center. If they go even further than that, there might just be a challenge between DX and RRQ. Whoa, that's a big nade, and makes the job easy to clear out Sinister.
Wow. We had questions on how FaZe Clan is going to overcome this situation, and now they found an entry passing A1, and they have a building of their own. So far, they still have the circle, but there's a chance that the circle will go away. Xavier is going to be the next target if that's going to be the case. We get a confirmation in about 5 more seconds as the zone will start to shift again. Since BTR is in the middle, they will surely get the circle still. And there you go. No circle at all for Xavier and FaZe Clan.
It's crazy how the updates keeps getting harder and harder for everybody else, and it's the Indonesians who are fully in the circle. All 3 of them, as a matter of fact. It felt like they've played this a bunch of times before, whether it's scrims or tournaments, and last I remember, there was one somewhere between the PMSL, where I can't remember clearly. FaZe Clan now getting pumped up, and it's going to be Xavier holding it down. Vpe looking great. We're looking for the movements. This might just actually be Lamborghini on how he's been handling the situation. Canary now getting the shots done. 2-5 is already out.
Wow. FaZe Clan, they're just insane right now. They're clearing their path slowly but surely to get into the circle. But okay, RJ is going to put up a big resistance to them for sure. But this nade, oh, nice angle. Nade to finish off Dewey. Now FaZe Clan, only 3 players left. The other player of Xavier, Vpe, are behind. I wonder if the understanding of Vpe is the same as us with the Vietnamese.
I believe it could be the case. A lot of Vietnamese, some of their secondary language could be Chinese as well. I mean, if they're neighboring countries.
Oh!
That says, but oh, Vpe! Yet again, ice cold. Can we call him Big Vpe if that's the case? Well, we'll hold that thought for now. Another one from Paragin! Insane work from Xavier.
Well, looks like Xavier was the only team to be able to stop FaZe Clan. And now they themselves will need to crash into the circle. The next challenger is going to be Kinotrope. Kinotrope needs the points, but the moment FaZe Clan gets eliminated, Xavier pushes forward and they find the next target, Kinotrope. Kinotrope tries to fight back with Tamra right now. DBS gameplay, trying to defend this ground. Xavier is not truly in the circle yet. They still need to move forward, but they have to get past this DBS.
It's so difficult to actually trade with Xavier when it comes down to close quarter combat. These guys are masters when it comes down to pulling up some clutch moments out there. Speaking of shotguns, there's S11 hitting the mark. Once again, this Paragin. Oh, now they go on a rampage. 10 points in for Dingo Xavier to be able to match up to the tempo of BTR.
Man, are you kidding me? Paragin is playing at the top of his game now. But the circle shifts again. Look at this. This circle, stage 8 circle, you still have 50% of water in it.
I mean, with that 50%, it kind of confirms that RQ's location is the best location because naturally, when it comes down to these kind of circles, it will eliminate water by the tail end of stage 9. And speaking of which, actually, stage 9 is going to be in the middle of the street. Oh, this is going to be bad. This is extremely bad for class players that needs to make a run across, which is why Pepang is going to lead the way. It's a 2-2 split. And somehow, Ozzy-san's lurking from the back. He might have a chance to strike them down.
Oh yeah, Ozzy-san could be the bane for class players. They still have the smoke bridge though. Beautiful smoke bridge created. It's like totally covered. Now Bobo is making a move for it. Unstoppable might be stopped by Ken here. And Ken will be the one. Wow, that's a decently long range. Using an EBS to knock down Unstoppable.
That's pretty impressive if you ask me because they were inside of the smoke and Ken right now gets himself into the upper portion of the rooftops just to get himself a little bit more cover. Lapard strikes down the final member of Kinotrope while RRQ takes charge at this very moment. Boss players, one after another, depleted. Moving into the top 4, but not really finding most of these numbers in return. They still have plenty more smokes left, but it's only one member that survives the cut. Now going for that revive. Perhaps this could be a chance for Ken to leap downwards to seek them all out.
Okay, and Curran is also behind him. But Ken, solo gameplay, comes in with a knock, but gets countered from the other side instead by Red Base. Now it's only Curran left for BTR. But now Lapar is in trouble. Blue is just right behind him, but his teammates have to clear the front. Thanks to Gen Force, Lapar can move.
Right now, Only the Indonesian teams are left here to play the final zone. And take a look at the dead center. That is the location of where it will straight. So it will be a little bit more of a heavy casualty for both cosplayers as well as RQ. Speaking of which, I guess there's only one casualty, and that is going to be from cosplayers and Lapar trading back some pressing rip phase on that very tight corner. There's barely any space. RRQ down it, and now all that there is left is BTR to hold down line, and with the freeze, he's able to hold on,
Yo!
but not for long. The king of cakes, Rex Rigum Keon, dominated here in North Georgia Pole.
And here comes RRQ with another chicken dinner in the playoffs. Their second chicken dinner. It will definitely be good enough for them to
You can say the same about Claw Slayers. That was the earliest team to be on the block, but it just was unfortunate with the very final shift where they were forced to move from north all the way to the direction of RRQ, and just because of that very reason, they settled for third place, which is still decent enough. But man, Lapar is definitely on another level today.
Oh yeah, he's definitely hungry, just like us. Yeah, but for RRQ, yeah, topsy-turvy sort of performance.
the fights were close quarter combat in most part. So back
to come, not only the circle, but also potentially the results here, ladies and gentlemen, as we're back for the second half of the Ruthless Invitational Showdown Season 11 for today. And we only have a handful of games left before we lock in who is going to be in the grand finals. My name is Sir Clark, together with Contra. We're still here with you. And here is RRQ, who just scored the chicken dinner.
Yeah, and take a look at this. It's been different regions of Southeast Asia that's been scoring those chicken dinners for the past 3 rounds. We still got another half, so we might even expect to see, Brazil to take the cake. It might just even be one of the Korean powerhouses to also secure it. Speaking of which, Group Red will make a return into this matchup. So welcome back for Esports, D+, Kia, Yangon Galacticos, and Alpha 7 in that sense. Now, out of all this list of names, it definitely has been very interesting that a lot of the winners are actually from Group Green as well as Yellow from what we're seeing today.
That's a good point. So Group Red, maybe they're losing their mojo. Is that a clue for your next pick?
Not too sure about it, honestly, because there's just so many no names. So I'm just thinking that it might just be this time, Red that actually secures it because it's been a dry spell. So, of course, you said that D plus Kia is not going to be up for selection. So, I'm going for Alpha 7 this time.
Okay, locking in the Samba boys. All right. Hey, expert prediction took whatever. We're having this wavelength today. You know? I was also thinking of horror. So, yep, gonna stick with my guts. Let's bring in horror esports. Let's go.
You guys are like couples, you know, like, I guess like all you have to do is follow the expert's prediction, and if they score, you score as well. So keep it even. Okay, I kind of see your game plan right now.
Hey, but I was genuinely thinking of horror. Okay, I was genuinely thinking of okay.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah. but I don't mind if the expert wants to bring me out for dinner. You know, it's been a while since I've dated, so.
Oh, okay. So I guess you don't mind. We have no judgments whether if your preferences are. Well, I've been single for quite a while as well. Not that I'm asking for any suitors out there. And looking at the current state for these teams, I guess like they're looking for a suitable scenario for them to score chicken dinner. So looking at those names, I think like out of the many names out of the grid, Vampire Esports have been rather quieter. Yes or no?
Oh yeah, they've been quite missing, right? I guess one of the more highlighted moments of them we saw in the first game in Erangel when it was the school-ish circle, and they head out like 3 players out, and then they just lost it out in the open, leaving Nuzi alone. So maybe a bit of a coordination that they need to recalibrate again. But of course, it's going to be a different map this time from last we truly saw them. So let's see if they'll be doing better in Miramar.
Into another round we go with the plane saying PMGC. Not the right year though for this, but of course still loving the colors and everything else that comes along with it. So back towards our discussion on Vampire Esports, and I just can't help but to notice that whenever they field Nuzi's always going to be this player, either if he goes out first or he goes out last. There's no in between. And I kind of have this discussion or banter with, I believe, really showcase what great players actually do to get edges when it comes down to all these fights. And speaking of which, Iver Burnett is joined in. He's gonna knife him from the rear, is he?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Keep it PG, people. Keep it PG, okay?
Well, that is as clean as it gets. At the very least, he made it a swift work. Now, Glue Squad awkwardly taking this fight in off the charts kind of city in Valdemar is just very low likelihood of these two teams clashing, but somehow they do. YG coming on top is definitely interesting to see, especially with Glue Squad performing rather fine throughout the circuit of this playoffs.
Yeah, and that's why they are on page 1 now. But Young Galacticos wouldn't mind taking them out, and Smile again shows up to knock down Noel, or formerly known as Leon Punk, when he was in BTR before this. Smile circling around with SFK, and he will get his next target. Smile is back at the best of his game.
Oh, wow. That was super explosive coming from YG. Just a show of confidence. And like that you pointed out, that was Leon Punk, because I had no clue that was Noel. So, you know, I guess that his new name is a lot more easy to pronounce. So it also revitalized his own branding that, you know, he's a changed man and he's playing so much better. And that wasn't the best showing out of Blue Squad, to be fair. So, of course, moving into the scenery, Miramar Blue Squad so far hasn't really had the best of results for most of the majority. I do believe that there were certain rounds that they were good at, but I feel like whenever they move into Miramar, it's always these early game things that kind of affected them. But if they make it past early game, they usually try very well.
Yeah, but to be fair to Glue Squad as well, like they're like 117 points. You know, they can afford to drop this round and
ease
have
out
a meal. Yeah, they can ease out. And I'm sure you know this, right? Like, especially when players play online and they're at their respective places. Like, if they drop out, what do? They go eat. So
we don't have the privilege.
we clearly don't have the privilege, right? But the players do. They'll be like, we too soon. Okay, let's go eat. You know, food is waiting for them anyway.
Yeah, Prod. Do we get a raise or do we actually get dinner time? Make a choice. Pick one. Give us one of the other. Anyways, I mean, nudge, hint, hint. Could be serious, actually. While Boy Donkey,
whoa,
clean stuff, takes out Ventores. Razak so quick in action, and to me, this early game is really a flare of showings coming in from all these players who are really looking to really hit the mark here. While Razak looking for a whole lot more. You know, this Ansys is already on the save, breaks down the doorway. So Ansys is kind of stuck with Ventores, because either the only way is up or you will be pretty much boxed in through the doorways. And Razak is just so smart on his maneuvers.
Yeah, and Razak right now needs help though. He's stuck at the top of this tower with Vampire Esports wanting his hit. Lobbing nade after nade, hoping to get a knock. Then they will have an opening. But for the rest of Void Donkey, okay, they are still quite spread out. They need to back up Razak for sure. Ventores shows up and Razak goes down. Now Razak calling up for help, but he's behind the edge of that rooftop, so he can just drop down easily, and now he will be amongst his teammates.
Yeah, and that mid-range shot coming from the DPS was so nasty. Finding a knock on to Razak, but thankfully Gachori is over on the back, so he will be able to go in for a save. Newsy now finds that opportunity. Great clearance coming from Ventores to be understanding that situation to really push upwards early on to really find the opportunity. Stick a grenade, toss right out, not finding the mark just yet. Razak now back up. Gonna go in for that full challenge right now. Potato now trying to really clear up the space. It's really taking a while now between both Boink Donkey as well as VPE, both having equal stances. And now, who's gonna come up on top? Potato soaking a little bit more. It's gonna be Schwabs. that does get that return exchange, and now he joins in the rest of the field. And Zeta stuck on the open. It's going to be Newsy out here, bringing out the TBS into play.
And Newsy from somewhere on the ground floor, or maybe like a first floor, depending on how you look at it, just buying time for Schwebs to come in with a flank. They bought enough time for Schwebs. Schwebs shows up, flanked Void Donkey, and that's how they eliminated them. What a well-coordinated gameplay by Vampire.
And that further solidifies our point that Newsy, he's still very much a team player in essence, where he's been able to really supplement in that fight. But the coast is not clear yet. They win out that battle by Graveyard, and take a look, that hard shift over onto Power Grid and beyond. So Vampire Esports, they're just looking at Woods and Paragon, and the rest of the Saber are charging into Graveyard.
Oh, okay. Well, we might see action in a little bit more, but we're also seeing Talon really taking their time, and they're quite far away from the circle. On the elimination feed, APG and 4 tries in a fight. Okay, East went down. For now, 4 tries, 1 player is knocked but not taken out yet. They fight back, they got refused. Looks like Alpha Gaming lost 2 players, and Doc is on the other side. And here comes IQ with a nade. 10,000 IQ on the Doc. It did damage him, it did clip him a bit, but IQ himself, he needs to heal. But Doc is now very low. Doc counters with a nade, but it's a 1-for-1 trade.
I love that they actually went equal. Fallock this time is not going to have all too much space, but at least Naki has been able to cover for now to be going for that pickup. Zao doing exactly the same, trying to find something in return to save Doc at this very moment. Barely finding enough cover, but with just about enough safety net, they will get that reset and continue on with this onslaught. 5 eliminations already for Dingo Sabers this early on, as they took out some of these members of Vampire Esports, I do believe. Well, APG, now that they've had to queue up those members from afar and for 4 tribes, it's gonna make it hurt. While the Saber are looking to clean up shop on the weakened side of Vampire Esports, going for the push. 2504 gets a clean job executed, and there goes Vampire settling for those 4 points that they had, which they've been able to secure.
Nice medium range spray there with the DBS by Doc, and he was at his last tick of health. He will not only be able to save himself, but also be able to save his teammates. Zone. Oh, wait. I heard gunshots. Okay. Oh, okay. At least they're shooting from across. I wonder who that is. Okay, those are the remaining members of 4 Thrives. So Doc with this rock. Yeah, I did that on purpose. Have enough cover to save Joel.
Yeah, and we'll see how he's going to be able to find a little bit more of the cover. I like that he actually played a little bit mind games with that smoke grenade as well. If you were to smoke on the same spot where you're going for that revive, they think that, they're going to be camping inside the smoke, so they will randomly spray inside the smoke, right? And by doing so, he kind of sets up a little bit of that decoy. Now, draws an exchange, he actually lands a bullet. I'm not sure if that's going to be a knock, but Doc is just so sharp on his attack that he's managing to suppress those members out of 4 tribes. So they've been limping for a while now. Fallock somehow still staying strong. And they're just going to fully commit to this. A fair 2 versus 2 between 4 tribes as well as Alpha Gaming. And they're looking to full send. Zio has been revived multiple times and now attacked down low again.
Okay, he's super low. He needs to heal. But he's out of first aid. He only has 10 bandages. Okay, that's going to take him a while, but time is not going to be given by Falak as he lobbed his nade out to Zol. And eliminated right after by Falak. Now Doc has no one else to save but himself.
I just love the game sense that Fallout actually has. Like, he knows for a notion that, okay, he might just be hiding somewhere on the outside of the shack, and all you really have to do is just toss the grenade right at the back. Doc secures it with a flank, though. This time, no fear over onto the high hills, looking to draw an exchange up against those moving targets of the Saber as they tried to book a space inside the crater fields. Kind of lost track of where they went. No fear, as much as he has this elevated angles, I'm not too quite sure as to where exactly the rest of the members of Aura is currently at.
They have 4 players, so yeah, we're not too sure. Maybe once we show the map, then we'll get to see a better view of them. But right now, what we're going to see is going to be Alter Ego and RRQ. The team that just scored the chicken dinner versus the team that needs a chicken dinner, because Alter Ego is one of those teams on the outside of the top 18.
And when they do score chicken dinner, there's still a lot of work to be done. You set the benchmark as APG, right? You don't want to be at 18 in specific. So they need those big volume of eliminations to also book out. So I'm not too sure if Rosemary is around to really alter the course of Alter Ego, because they've been on a slump. But then again, these guys, only when the moment matters the most, that's where they kind of put their 100%. And I feel like that has been the bane of Alter Ego for most part. And this time, moving directly into the territories of RRQ, that direct challenge didn't seem to have worked in their favor, with one member being tagged out. And Alpha, the drops the exchange, takes down Nepeko in return.
Oh, Alpha from afar takes out Gen Force. They will give a little bit more space for Moana, but now Moana will still be charged in. He does have his teammate together with him. So at least 2 players here against 2 players from RRQ that has arrived. Lapar, who had a big performance in the previous round, now needs to put up another performance against Alter Ego. Okay. TPP. Oh, but he's being shot at. Oh, he was only really focused in front that he forgot to put focus onto whoever might flank him.
My word. It seems a little sloppy coming from RRQ. They were holding into this ground and it really felt like they didn't really have plans to go in for the defense, and Alter Ego kind of took them one after another, but all thanks to Alva with those long range angles that he found with that double knock. And that kind of opened up all these opportunities. And take a close look. Alpha 7's drawing closely into this position. So the fight's perhaps not over yet for the rest of Alter Ego. So at least a good start. AE gets 4 points.
Okay, and AE, they could use all the points they can get right now. Next target is probably going to be Alpha 7. But Alpha 7 is still traveling though. So Alter Ego, I guess their focus is to try to get into the circle. But somehow Rosemary spotted up by Boom Esports way behind on the outside of the circle. So that means these teammates won't be able to save him. Okay, Alpha is still there on the outside together with Moana. And if you look at the northern side, Boom Esports is closing in onto Alter Ego.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. Alter Ego, they kind of turned the other way around onto the outskirts instead. Maybe trying to stash some couple of stocks or try to perhaps catch some of all these stragglers over on the outskirts. Well, Alpha has been able to at least find a decent spot, elevated, getting a good glimpse, a chance at Horror Esports at the very same time. Alpha gets a couple of tags onto Krypton, and I guess this is what they wanted, just to enroll into more of those fights. Alpha goes down! Oh, this is tough. Boom Esports getting the better end of the trades.
And Yummy now. In front of him is going to be Rosemary. 2 big boys against each other. Molly to force Rosemary to relocate himself, but then Molly will not land at all as Yummy rushes in. Yummy now pretty low, but Yummy with the DBS will not fail.
Man, this maneuver coming in from Alter Ego so risky. It backfired. They shouldn't have actually turned towards the direction of Boom. I believe they heard those shots, which is why they actually charged into the direction. They kind of have this own already, but by doing so, they kind of rolled into a fight that they didn't prepare for in close range. So that is to their own doing in essence. First, to no fault where Boom Esports, they're just as good in those CQC. While Bernat, long range challenge up against D plus Kia. Barely could actually spot who exactly that player is, as D plus Kia is going to be taking a turtle stance, defending themselves. And Bernat, he's already by the blue zone. He's got to move away with his buggy.
And Yanka from this high ground, trying to stop another team from coming in. Okay, that's really far, but this is a really good spot. Look at this. You can manage 2 different teams, 2 different angles at the same time. That includes Young Gaticos. And the other one is actually Horror Esports.
Yeah, overall, they definitely are holding some of all these peak areas in the zone. A pan to the face by Master Spell. Never thought I'll see this in Miramar, but hey, here we are at. We already got the knife. We will bring out the pan too in the same specific match. We gotta mix those of everything.
And circle shifts. Looks like Talon is on the other side, nice and safe in the power grid area. And here comes Fabian into the circle. I guess the south side is okay. The north side, where Aura is at, Kinotrope is just right beside them. So the challenge is for Kinotrope to come in. But Hora Esports, they're out for blood, sending Sky to scout.
Yeah, and speaking of which, No Fear has been able to just spot the rest of Kinotrope. So as much as they want to go in for that full challenge, they are also very vulnerable from another different angle on the opposite end, which is why they really have to take a little bit of cover then to really fully commit up against those members of Kinotrope. We'll have to see if Finale can actually get a nice push. Sky already on taking targets, grenades being tossed towards his direction, and just like that, Sky securing one with his FG3 phenomenal footwork as well as firepower coming in from this gentleman.
And Kinotrope still needing to find an entry point. Okay, they found a way down south. So they will want to fight with Hora Esports. But Hora Esports continue to put pressure onto them. With one player down. Jigo got to be extra careful here. Sleepy will finish off Octa from Boom Esports. Okay, they're managing Boom as well. Sleepy, long range, and Sleepy will get Yanka, who was at that top for the longest time.
Ooh, here we go. Great tags coming out of Alpha 7 as we speak of their crazy rage as well as great spots that they've been able to take across the field. They've been able to kind of draw in a little bit of hustle, sending one member out to also closing up against Horror Esports as they try to retaliate, having Sleepy to try to put up a little bit of defensive control. Ramalis just moves the other way around, just allowing the rest of Horror Esports to actually take the far edge, while Squash will be able to actually hold firm into these areas of play. Still 4-man strong for the rest of Alpha 7. And you just see that as much as they're by the edge, they've got so many areas that they could actually play from.
Yeah. And here is Hora Esports. Now by the edge of the circle. We're moving on to stage 6 soon. Very likely they won't get the next phase of the circle, so they're planning the next move. Okay, now they're on their vehicles. Where would they go? Rotate down south? It's not a bad option though. As long as they don't need to deal with the high ground that's already locked in, so they can avoid that unnecessary fight.
Yeah, the problem is this street in the middle though. I mean, it's a lot of open space where you can barely find yourself cover. There are some increases just by the roadways, which is what Yummy's currently doing. Just trying to hide in plain sight, hoping nobody actually reveals his location. Talent won't be all too involved unless if this circle shifts directly in the center, which will very likely to be the case. And even so, Raboyaza is still going to be able to at least have a little bit of a decent compound to hold out. Talent Esports, this could be one of their best runs so far. A lot of times that they played today, they were eliminated first and foremost, having those altercations with Southern teams in a hot drop. And now Big Nate's sent over the side of Fabian, easily dodge. He's got some form of space for him to play with. Well, a bullet was sent coming in from another different direction, so they can't afford to really go in for the full flush up against D+ here.
And on the other side, here we have Hora again on screen. As the last we checked, Kinotrope was in front of them. They meet the rotation to the south, and Hora is to follow up. But Yummy now, 1v1 against a player of Alpha 7, and Yummy gets that win. But Yummy is very low. Oh no! Squash Move was there to follow up. Yummy with only 10% of health, stood no chance.
Perfect work coming in from Alpha 7 as well. Esports this time moves into the top 5 with 4 mission points. Not too shabby. Keeps themselves pretty much well maintained. Now this top 4 rather interesting. Yangon Galacticos have been able to really squeeze very far from the south side of Valdemar all the way into this top 4 for Esports. over on Nerve, needing to challenge Alpha 7 for that position, while Talon have those advantages in the form of compounds, but eventually they might need to find certain spacing in between the three other teams. Squash now, it's a little bit of a dip, a very good defensive hold, but Sleepy can overpick up the hillside and maybe just seek out his position.
Okay. And top four, all four teams have 3 players, so it's very equal among them. No Fear trying to make it unequal against Talon, but failed to land it against Yoru. Yoru got away, and he'll be in the circle. Aura Esports slowly moving in. And they see that compound with one player of Talon there. But they are by the edge of the circle now. Okay, still pressure by Talon onto Hora. But generally everyone's in the circle. But Axel, he found an angle against Sky.
Wow, what a great tap out there as Talon Esports leveraging on their high ground terrain right now over on the rooftops of their compound. Getting that attack over on the Sky and immediately looks to recruit this Fallen Brother. That leaves him vulnerable at the very same time. Oh, Yoru. He almost got in return, but No Fear is also putting the pressure coming over the sidelines, and that could be a problematic turnaround if Yoru is not careful enough. Lively spraying into the smoke, and this is where they retaliated, and tags sent right back at Yoru. And just like that, they managed to at least deplete the vehicle, getting at one knock, and No Fear has already closed right in, 1 HP left, and that Molotov might just be able to do the trick! And where can they actually go? Barely enough space for the side of Yoru, and he's still somehow surviving, landing a little bit of a shot, spraying through. Somehow, he's hanging on, and he's pushing upwards. This might just be it.
No Fear!
And with the front center, No Fear clutches in that moment.
Oh man, I was at the edge of my seat looking at that one. Yoru had the time to heal, but No Fear showed no fear at all to Yoru. But short-lived celebration as that long-range spinner of No Fear, but still it was a good move there by No Fear. But now Romeo Boy on the high ground against Alpha 7. Mernat gave him the assistance from the side, and Romeo Boy will not die.
Romeo Boy, so far, having a great cover over on those creases and finding that perfect exchange, having some help coming in from Smile at the very same time. So that tag team duo looking absolutely lethal. Now only 2 members left for Alpha 7. I guess this is as close as it gets for my prediction. You know who I'm rooting for, but YG, I mean, I've casted these guys from PMCL, and they have been able to always close up games when it comes down to a top 4 scenario. So looking to do it once more. Squash hiding in the midst of the valley. Well, I've always spotted Romeo as well as Master Smile, but there's one member out of YG that we are not exactly getting a pure sight on, and that's Mernat, actually coming from the far south in those compounds where we last saw those players of Talon was playing at.
So with the numbers, Young Radicals have a higher percentage to lock this one in. But it's Alpha 7 that we're talking about. So anything can happen here. They try to gather as much information as possible. They know that they are at the deficit. And they're being pushed to a corner now by Yaku Radicals. The Yaku Radicals, they want to wrap things up. Look at this, they're pushing forward. They send a nade across on the Squash. And they head onto him, putting himself down to 50%. And Squash relocates his vehicle. Relocates himself because he doesn't want to stay there, anticipating a second nade might arrive.
True enough. Very smooth maneuver coming with Squash, but he's actually taking the far edge. Maybe this could be a surprise ambush over onto Master Smile. Now, keep in mind that the rest of YG is actually taking the majority of the zone with this brand new update. Alpha 7 now back up against the blue zone. This is going to be a very difficult task, so they have to isolate this target. Starting off with Romeo Boy, they managed to spot him out, now fending him off. A little bit of damage being soaked by Yanka, and Smile really needs to chime in. Mernat to be following suit, so this makes it a clean 2v2, and that flank from Smile might just be the difference maker as they are slowly losing space. Tags over the Squash, and now here comes the major decision coming from Alpha 7.
Oh man, it's so difficult, right? Like you're pushed to the edge like this, and Mernat lands a nade. Squash is going to be the final player. 1v3 right now. Young Radicals will want to wrap it up. Oh, Smile through the pan. He wanted to make a moment, but no, not the kind of moment gonna happen. Instead, the moment for Young Galacticos to claim the chicken dinner is going to happen.
The champions of the PMCL shows up in a strong statement here in Miramar, dominating the field, and it is just so clean on how they've been able to work on that split 2-2 formation, and they just understood the assignment so well, where they know that they've already secured a lot of that space on the south. To focus on Alpha 7, there's just a couple of areas that were left unchecked, and they know that they could just slowly hold them out every step of the way. So that being said, it's 6 points in for Master Smile and Murnat to equate to a total of 12 elimination points.
It had to come from the former Genesis Esports boys, Smile and Murnat, to score 12 eliminations for the team. And with the chicken dinner, that's 22 points collected by Yangon Galacticos. They're already at page 1 last we checked. So scoring this chicken dinner just solidifies it. Surely we will see them in the grand finals. Not going to be a problem for the boys of Myanmar, who will be waving the flag at the PMWC later on. And with this kind of performance, hopefully we get to see them carry on the momentum onto the grand finals and onto the big stage in Riyadh.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward for Yangon Galacticos in the EWC. And, you know, throughout all the trials and tribulations that these Burmese players had, YG definitely gave a very strong fighting chance and hope back into their respective nation overall. And take a close look into some of these amazing stats. YG traveled pretty far. You could say the same about Hora Esports, while Talon, they have traveled the furthest. When it comes down to resources, I think A7 as well as YG on that final duel, one had more smokes and another had more frag grenades to cook out. But in essence, once that tag was laid out over onto what went on, it becomes a deficit that was too hard for Alpha 7 to overcome.
Yeah, and if we were to look at the stats, right, what interests me is that even though Yangon Galacticos, they scored big this time, 12 eliminations with 1,836 damage, but their heals are lower than Alpha 7. So that means that, okay, they saw a lot of action, but they somehow managed to like stay away from like gunshots, but still able to bring in the eliminations. That's crazy. That's crazy stats here. But what else is crazy is the clutch man of Myanmar. The man himself, Smile, as our MVP this time. 6 eliminations brought to the team.
Love that when it comes down to Smile, he is always showing us some really straight face. Well, you know, he definitely smiles upon his enemies once they turn it into crates, and he's always been able to offer a high amount of damage alongside with Burnett. These ex-Genesis players once again showing a huge part of their DNA on what makes them some of the best players hailing from Myanmar. Now, what's interesting to also note is that I've expected more out of those members of Alpha 7 to be part of this list of top performers, but instead it's out of Hora Esports as well as APG. No Fear matching up with the numbers with Doc, with both securing 4 eliminations apiece.
Yeah, and with that, Yangon Galacticos 22 points, Hora Esports 13 points, Alpha 7 10 points. Okay, so that's the teams at the top. RRQ and E Arena 0 points, but yeah, they don't really need the points, so they'll be okay. They'll be okay, right? But there are some of the other teams that needs them. Genotron Gaming, definitely one of those teams that needs to bring in the points. They managed to bring in 4 points this round. On the other stats, before we look at the overalls, this is the most airdrops looted that we've seen so far. Not the most important of stats, but you know, just something to note that teams are starting to give more attention to the airdrops.
True enough, and in certain situations, it really supplements you on how some of all these outcomes could actually result to. And this is probably the longest shot that we've seen so far today. 377 distance coverage coming from Murnat to be able to really stash some of all these points back. So good work coming from Murnat, while look at the rest of the field as well. One of the higher ratios of troubles, especially this being Miramar, where most of these actions usually happens long range, is still rather impressive.
And the overalls. Okay, teams on page 1.
Matter when it comes down to tiebreakers. So we'll have to see. 2 more matches to go, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break. We're moving into match 29, and oh boy, it's been one hell of a week so far. And all these teams are vying for that spot for the top 18 to play in the grand finals happening throughout the course of this weekend. So make sure you guys don't miss a bit. Hit that sub button right now, and don't forget to drop that like into the video to support Ruthless Type Esports. So that's it. We are looking at the chicken dinners once again claimed by majority of all these SEA teams, and now we will see if Group Yellow has any form of answers.
Oh man. So Group Red, finally they scored a chicken dinner here today, represented by Yanku Galacticos. And what I noticed as well is that it's great to see like all chicken dinners today is scored by a different region. So that just shows diversity and how balanced the lobby is. But for Group Yellow to come in, so Claw, they definitely need a lot of points. We're clear with that. BTR, they're slowly rising up though. So these could be the rising stars here. So keep an eye on BTR for this round. A1 could use points as well. So there are a handful of teams here that will be playing the next round that will need points.
Definitely, it's a really difficult pick for me. I mean, look at all these choices. Ideally, if I get to vote, I'll pick Vikings, but unfortunately, they're not playing today. But hopefully tomorrow they'll be back. Now, you'd say that BTR Vitality is looking good. Immediately, expert says they're going for it. Are you gonna do the same?
Well, I did kind of give a hint, right? I was actually kind of thinking of it because they are like the rising team. Why don't you go first? Let me have a think about that.
I'm thinking it could very well be... It's been a while for Vampires. I'm thinking it could be a good chance if they want to be, up for a challenge to score one before, closing out the entire playoff. So, of course, no harm, no foul. We'll see what VP can bring.
Okay. I think I had a side, right? During the break, the promo for Alice in Borderland passed by me. So I think that's a sign. Okay, although that's Japanese, but I'll take the closest region to that to the country. So let's bring out NS Red Force.
Okay, I like that you brought out that, but I thought you were going to go for Kinotra, but then again, they're not in this group specifically because Alice in Borderland is sort of there, but it's still within the region, like you said. So I think Nongshim Red Forest, they definitely have shown certain good strides. It's just that they haven't really found that pure rhythm to really nail down a top 3 finisher in their favor in general. But in Erangel, they generally look very good.
Yeah, they did score 2 chicken dinners yesterday, so they could be feeling the vibes here, and they want to at least be at number 2 because they held that second place spot for quite a while. But let's see if they'll be able to do it in Erangel.
This is our penultimate match heading into day 5 here in the Ruthless Invitational Showdown Season 11. This time, a little bit change of an opening scene where we're looking at the corners of Novorotnoye, and it will just fly past the edges of Severny. So I think this flight path is fair enough for a majority of all these players to get to where they need to be, but how many teams are we looking at that's docking into the islands? It's only Claw Slayers for the moment. I'm pretty sure that BTR is looking for either the Milta sector or even the farm area to play things out. Sem9 is going to go for a little bit of stretch. I wonder if they're also aiming at either getting those vehicles or even trying to test for some lonely spots, but it definitely might just be interesting takes where we may see those early challenges just because they want those first dips on those wheels.
Yeah, that is a possibility. But on screen, we don't see it yet. Including the one player of BTR that dropped in military base island. That's Kent. Oh, no, that's Kyorin, whoever he is. And he stole one vehicle away from outside of Yasnaya. So Claw, they lost one vehicle technically. But Circle, no losses for any players. I would say that it's a kind circle. But Alter Ego, okay, early fight with another team.
Is Alpha 7 right now going for the challenge, and Rosemary actually lands blow for blow. Not for a time. Rosemary actually gets the second attack at the very same time. While it is going to be a little bit awkward at this moment, Alpha 7 and now just between those walls, unable to breach towards Kryptonians. He does have a decent weaponry with Rosemary on the other edge. Now, those two knockdown members of Alter Ego is not going to be safe, so we got to see which one is going to be a better.
This round, and then it becomes like what? 6-way fights. Yeah, 6-way fight for at least number 18. That will be crazy. Because after this round, we only have one more game today, and then tomorrow will be the last day of the playoffs. Average, every team would play 4 games in a day. So only 4 games tomorrow then to determine who will be in the top 18. And until now, we're not clear because the points are that close.
True enough, which is why we have not changed the point system for so many years, because it's so efficient. Back in the days where Chicken Dinner awards you with 25 points and then the second place was 15? That's inflated numbers right now. It's pretty much tied up almost anyone's game to actually take. When you just outgun your opponents, then that's all you really have to do. It's a fair shot for everybody. Now, you talked a little bit about Claw Slayers. I think they need at least 2 Chicken Dinners if they can find 1 or 2 today. Tomorrow's work will be easier, but right now the gap is quite significant. Okay, at least we get to see at the teams that are playing right now. Alter Ego at 74. That's a big margin. Claw Slayers, dead bottom, 40 points. You need 2-3 big games to get you on track.
But the good news for Claw Slayers is that they're not only playing this game, but they will also be playing the next game. So, yeah, so they have that chance to do whatever that you mentioned. Okay, that was a big flip there. Okay, when does it stop? Okay, does it stop yet?
Nope.
One more?
Nope. Well, Smile's always got the lucky charm with him. It doesn't it could be awkward where You are overturned after how many flips, a lot of time being burned out. But thankfully, they are in the safe spot. Can you imagine this to be stage 3? And then like it's a back region, then he's absolutely doomed, right? And I think certain times, even in competitions, we see vehicles flip at really bad moments. Well, we've talked so much about Nobu. I think like back in the days, not many people bat an eye on all these Korean teams because, they're new to the PUBG Mobile esports world, but there's a reason why they say South Korea is the mecca of esports. And fun fact to those who don't tune into PUBG PC, South Korea has always been up there at number 1 or number 2 for many, many years. And what these big organizations do, they employ coaches from the very best of PC into mobile. And that formula works just fine into mobile.
And it just took them like what? 3? Well, since their debut in the world stage that I could remember, they took like what, 3 or at most 4 years, and they became world champions. Or champion to our observer as well. This is a unique sight. I never knew that the horse could like just move on its own. Does that not put him in not in the same position where he was left?
I guess likely so. It's still going to move around those facilities. Imagine if he just goes for a wrangle tour around the map. That would be fun. But that's a rare breed of horse, which I kind of wish we get IRL version of it.
Even if we do, then I don't know how we're going to ride it. Well, not like I know how to ride a horse. But players do know how to ride the circle. It's a kind circle. Okay, after like having like insane circles, if you think about it, like especially the last Erangel that we saw in North George, I guess this round is more like a breather type of circle for the teams.
True enough, and look at plenty of all that space. I think that every team gets a fair shot because you get to play around those regions of Ruin, Skatka, and so to speak. Yangon Galacticos have been here for a very long time, and now the challenges will be Bowling Donkey rushing up against them. Murnat immediately dropping the nade, taking a quarter of health coming from Murnat. He's going to try for another blow, and if they do land the lucky strike, Yangon Galacticos could easily control that. And with the monster truck, it seems like they will have that perfect shot coming out of Zeta to annihilate one out of YG.
Okay, Safe Cloud. Technically still in, but no longer. Zeta's need will take him out. Yakuga goes 3 players. They're still fighting for this hill, but Murder responds with a knock onto Zeta. Now he's prepping up into the nade. Okay, he's also rushing at the same time. Murder has the DBS, trying to close the gap between himself and Potato. But Murder takes damage, and now he has to fall back to heal.
Yeah, both sides needing to actually go in for a little bit of slight reset. Murnat also healing up instead. As much as one Donkey is playing on the lower end, they're doing a really massive job defending it very well, but Roman Boy is closing the distance, securing the knockdowns, and YG turn the tides around. Now only down to Gachora. What more can he do? There's barely enough space for him to really get it into that Romeo running to the back, and Roman Boy's looking to secure, but he gets knocked out.
Wow.
Oh, close call. Smile secures it, but over the back, here comes charging Vampire Esports.
Oh man, just as they wanted to celebrate, now they have to deal with the vampires. Romeo Boy is still down. A nade almost landed onto them. A bit of an overshot. But Ventores is edging closer and closer. Newsy is doing the same as well on the other side. Onzes from behind. Smile, he doesn't have time to save Romeo Boy. He has to clutch this one against Vampire Esports, but Smile was not able to do so. Vampire Esports, third partied in.
Crazy altercations by the peak of the hillside. And that's why we absolutely love some of all these Skatka kind of endings. And you can see even more happening over on the side of Horror Esports, hoping to pull up a massive defense as they have all these players of B+ scale running all around. The nades are flown right over the first window. Deathstorm finds one in return. And instead, it's known for getting tagged out. So this is a three-way battle between these teams right now.
At the rooftop right now, it's going to be Chips going down, but the moment Chips stepped down, looks like Sky got him. By name from the outside, took out Sky, he came from Osal, but from afar, from the inside the building, Jiggle spotted out, Fabian finished him off, and that is the end of Hora Esports. Taken out by D plus K.
Yeah, it's just a really tough sandwich situation where they're pretty much boxed in. They couldn't really run over on the outskirts, especially with some involvement coming in from another different party. D plus Kia holds up that solid defense, taking 3 players out. And it'll get D plus Kia getting some airtime. Now that's a little bit of a show off of how well he actually drives as they look to take down the rest of Pubg Sports, instead getting knocked down. Oh, this is tough for Oso.
Too many for him to handle. The rest of D plus K, they have to build this one. And Boom Esports, they're on the chase. Octa really wants to hunt them down. But as D plus K tries to get away, they will bump into another team. In front of them is going to be Endless Red Force. And Yummy will finish off Osal. As for D plus K, okay, they have arrived. Okay, here we go. From the pan to the fire. Now it's going to be D plus K and Nongshim Red Force.
It's going to be the battle of civil rivalry right now between the Korean side. Doxy is finding some alternate angles, but that is quickly navigated by the rest of the members of D plus Kia. As soon as he jumps right and he gets tagged up instantaneously, Nongshim Red Force will be down for the count.
D plus K just showing that they are still the better Korean team against NS Red Force. When NS Red Force, they were on the defensive side, like they had the building, D plus K had to infiltrate, but they failed to defend it. But it just shows the power of D plus K. And if we look at the overalls right now, right, all the teams, or at least 4 teams below D plus K, all of them have been eliminated. So they will naturally create a bigger gap at the top.
It's actually crazy on how rowdy these teams are actually getting. Mind you, this is just stage 3, and we're already down to 9 teams. This tells you that it gets tougher and tougher. Vampire Esports tries to make their way across. D plus Kia still not holding back these guys. The moment that they get those restocks, they're just feeling so amped up because they won so many of all these trade outs, despite this compound only houses 2 members of D plus Kia that's still alive.
Yeah, they're playing as if they are like a full squad, right? That is insane by D plus K. And because of their dominance, it looks like no teams want to take over the compound. And the compound happened to be right smack in the middle of the circle. But as the circle moves, surely they will still get it. So that's going to be a safe haven for them. Now the next clash point. Are we looking at the North Boom and FaZe Clan?
It is pretty interesting as to how there's a lot of flat grounds in this updated area, and all around the outskirts there is a scramble for space between FaZe Clan as well as Boom Esports. Boom hoping to get those points. Vampire Esports also by the very dangerous zone of 16 spot right now needs to win out the trades, and one of these SEA teams will have to drop. Dropping it seems like the narrative will close up the gap as they try to find some of all these SOK shots. Will be hitting the mark against Mastery. That's the captain down. Still more to go as we are looking to see where the Texans can be able to find one. Pop is the only one that will be fending off by himself out of compounds while Red Bull trying to seek out Yummy. A long tussle between the two of them. And FaZe Clan, they got those numbers. And here comes Team Secret from the outskirts.
Okay, Team Secret, they probably want to be a third party. Let's see if they do choose to crash in. But Boom Esports, they crashed out to the hands of FaZe Clan. Last we checked, Team Secret was around the corner. Team Secret spraying from the outside. I'm not sure if they want to really take this fight though. They will lock themselves in the blue.
Well, they managed to get the knock though, so he kind of makes it pretty much easier for them to secure something done in return. So now on the weakened side, FaZe Clan needing to go for that grand reset. Team Secret needs to pull off a clean performance on the outskirts.
Okay. And Team Secret, I guess they want to go in and continue the fight. They really want the points, although they are in a position that they don't really need the points for themselves. So I guess it's going to be just a flex if they do finish off phase lab. But frankly speaking, for phase lab, with the amount of points that they have collected, they're not too worried about the overalls.
Well, right now, just waiting for the action to kind of continue on our screen. We're not too sure as to what's happening right now from our POV, but it sounds like the game is still running. Okay, we're back on track. So, Vampire Esports right now, face-to-face up against the rest of P+K on the opposite end. Now, I'm not too sure if, it affected the main broadcast in that sense, as we kind of missed out on what really went on between Secret as well as FaZe Clan. We will have to get a little bit of that update. Now, back towards the side of BTR. Looks like majority of all these teams we're looking at over the course of the outskirts of Gatka have at least a decent space in between. Onson's holding on to that Molotov, but it seems like it's going to be a member of Team Secret now running around those corners, and Clothlinger is having Bubble being knocked down, and here comes Frankie charging right through, and he does actually get all of them along with some help. Coming with a frag grenade, perfect stuff coming from Team Secret.
Okay, but they're not over yet because right now Claw will try to stop them. Only one player left, it's gonna be Annie, but is he okay right now? He ain't okay. As Team Secret became the smooth criminal, finish them off.
Just love it when those MJ lyrics just fall perfectly into place. Now, Frankie is definitely looking more than okay as compared to Annie. Well, or if you merge them together, do you get Anne Frank?
And Frank?
Key.
And Frankie. Frank and Key.
Yeah, frankly speaking.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sounds about right.
Okay, I guess we move on from that notion into the top 5. Top 5 in stage 5, something that we've not seen for a long time. I feel like these guys are thinking, the night's running pretty long, so let's wrap it up real quick. So they're taking it to the fields, and they're just eager for a lot of blood splat over the course of the field. Uzi, sharp shots connecting onto BTR.
Oh, long range by Firen as well.
He stole it.
And BTR, only one player left. That was quick work actually. So Semna actually stole away those points. Nuzi did a little bit of work, but at the end of the day, it is Semna that collected those points at the hands of Vampire.
Yeah, you could clearly see that Nuzi was staring into space. It's like, where did these bodies go? It's like, oh, okay, claimed. Unlucky. Clearly disappointed about that. But hey, you just gotta move on from that notion because the rest of 7-9 now identified to be not too far off, which is where Team Secret has been able to actually strike right back. So far, this is one of the best performances out of 7-9 for today. Into the top 5. But only 2 eliminations thus far. I want to see what more can they actually bring. Vampire Esports, so far still having all 4 members holding firm. I could say the same about Team Secret as well as 7-9, BK as well as BTR. They just got themselves assigned into so many different altercations, or should I say BTR was desperately looking for that space that they saw the time in the check and thought, hey, maybe we can claim that. But instead, they got themselves plenty of attention coming in from both 7-9 and also Vampire Esports.
Yeah, now there's nothing much for BTR to claim. So they will stay as quiet as possible. The final player of BTR will stay as quiet as possible, hoping for more teams to be eliminated so he gets more placement points. But it's stage 5 with 5 teams, so there's a lot of space to play. That means that it might take a while before Kuren can climb up another notch.
At the very least, with this top 5 to be secured by BTR, it kind of solidifies more of that positioning when it comes down to how they would actually play this one out for the grand finals in return. Now, taking a look at the mini-map as well, who actually gets the best favor is D plus Kia once again directly in the center. And over onto the far south, we're looking at two other teams to be inbound as well. This is going to look a little bit tough for, I believe, 7-9 or Vampire Esports, where they're kind of on that outskirts. And now this is why you're seeing a bunch of smokes being set up, because they need to journey out into the open grounds.
And Team Secret will fight against M9. Both of them in a similar situation based on the circle. Cooking up this nade. While the rest of Team Secret circling around, they're trying to gather information on where exactly the players of Sem9 are at. So this fight is inevitable right now. Unless somehow Sem9 choose to leave this one, but I don't think they will, because the current high ground is still pretty decent for them to survive the stage.
Yeah, it's definitely a very dicey situation for the rest of the members of 7-9, especially with the pressure coming in from Team Secret. As much as Team Secret's on the low ground, 7-9 are being gated out from making that entry into the zone. So the onus is now on them. And it's a dominating streak. Oh, wait a minute! Nobu nading out Nuzi! And somehow, he's actually getting a better exchange! 3 members out for Vampire Esports!
Okay. I really want to see a replay of that, but okay. Somehow, then they're only playing with 2 players. But okay. Anyway, right now, looks like we are down to the 4 teams. And here comes Sem9 rushing in. Okay, the final player of ATR. Made quick work by Mika. But now he has to save track Z. Okay, here comes Spearin as well to just barricade them from potential gunshots from afar. Team Secret, now they have the space.
Yeah, but that actually took a toll on them, not losing out 2 players. Meanwhile, Vampire Esports finally shutting out D plus Kia and managed to recover all 3 of those knocked players. Or should I say 2 of them? I remember one of it is just falling rather low. So Team Secret, are they gonna get involved, or otherwise are they waiting for the right moment to strike? Mika, aka Yumiko, knowing that there is gonna be those members of Team Secret just right across. Sheps is gonna be able to spot out a member of Secret. So right at this moment, Secret is just hoping to find that gap, find that little spacing to tack onto the biggest threat, the Tigers of Sem9.
The Tigers of Sem9. Fearin just took down GK. Okay, now Team Secret GK is bleeding out. Okay, it's very, very low, and Fearin will lock that one in. And while all that was happening, Ventura is still able to take out to check a airdrop. As for Sem9, they're not having the most closed up position, but they're taking the active approach. Look at this. Mika going back onto the high ground, not taking the fight head on against Team Secret.
This is looking rather great for sprays, but not quite enough to take out Schweppes just yet. That grenade might be able to seal the deal, as he will be able to get that knock. The rest of Vampire Esports charging towards Hehe. He's trying to hold the line, and he is looking for that clutch. That tag secures it for Team Secret.
Oh, and he came from Frankie. Now it's between Sem9 and Team Secret. Frankie is still alive. I wonder, is he able to save his teammates? But no. It's just too far. He has to win alone right now. 1v2. And finally, Sem9 scores their first chicken dinner in the playoffs.
Better late than never is what they've always said. Sem9 have got that perfect opportunity, that big blowout out of that part. Esports, they were so confident to take Hehe out of the equation, but instead, that clutch factor pulled out from Hehe and that final touch from Frankie was enough to shut out Vampire Esports, or else it could still be pretty much a 3-way warfare. But my Sem9, this was just that perfect moment for them to just seal the deal by the tail end, and Fearin is absolutely on fire in this round.
Whoa, 5 eliminations brought in by Fearin for Sem9, a total of 7, so 17 points. Sem9, at some point, they were one of the teams that was struggling on page number 3, and now with the chicken dinner, surely they will book their ticket into the grand finals. Anything else after this is going to be a bonus for them, and for them to seek more starting points in the grand finals later on. even if you look at the knockouts, only Firen had all the knockouts.
Man, this guy is just hot carrying Sam9 at this moment. And to the point of the final touch at the very same time where it could just be any one of these members. Sam9 so far, having him to be the trusty addition from a couple seasons ago. And he has always been the ones really being the main backbone of the roster.
Oh yeah. There's a likeliness that he might be the MVP. But we'll check that one out later. But still, Team Secret, they are placed in front of all the other teams in the teams to watch list. That means they have gathered more elimination points and more total points as compared to Sam9. And then we also have Vampire Esports and D plus K with only 2 players. From the very early stages of this round, they pushed themselves into the middle of the circle, took over the compound for the hands of NS Red Force, and they are part of the teams to watch as well.
Yeah, it's so interesting where we're making comparison between 2 members of Team Secret. No idea who he is, but he is really matching up the tempo of Jiki. Almost equal on damage, but he'll definitely have just 1 extra elimination under his name. Well, contribution-wise, I think that it's pretty much a fair shot for a majority of them. And like you said, Firen definitely has been the MVP for Sam9.
Oh yeah, 5 eliminations, 915 damage. I mean, what else can we say, right? Like, he hard carried the team, like what you mentioned earlier on. All the numbers was on him. Well, 2 eliminations was to another player, but he brought in most of them. And he brought in the 5 knocks together as well. So he did a lot of work for Sam9 in this round. And because of that, he's also the top performing player amongst all these other teams in terms of eliminations, separated by 3 players of Team Secret, Hihi, GK, and Zeus? I don't know, man.
It very well could be Xerus.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
oh,
now
man.
it makes sense, right? So, yeah, you just got to change it to something a lot more confusing for us to read. But in essence, this is the Team Secret that we all know and love, and now they are bouncing all the way to the top, even surpassing Sam9 because they got the most chicken dinners today, a total of 14 eliminations in the span of a round.
And surprise, surprise, NS Red Force is the only team that did not score any points. But objectively for NS Red Force, they would have done enough to be the grand final, so that's still okay for them. BTR, they need the points, so they scored 6 this round. Claw Slayers, they did a decent job. But for Claw Slayers, they need a lot more points overall. Match stats, I remember one of the airdrops looted by Vintores, so that's on my mind. Onzen's longest elimination distance, 283. Not the most important stats, but you know, it's always nice to have your picture on screen.
It's always great. I mean, Onsen so far just showing that he's working pretty hard to look far and wide for opportunities, and sometimes it's all the way by the edge of the map. Now, D plus Kia once again showing how well they've been able to just perform, and they will remain unshaken at the top. But because of this massive result, Team Secret now takes that number 3 position. Nongshim, they didn't score this round.